everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Horrifically Horrifying, presented by the HCA. I am Heather Wixson, managing editor for dailydead.com, and I am joined by my co-host, Kevin Taft from the Edge Network. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm, struggles, but it's okay.
Got some Lost Boy struggles going on there?
Lost Boy struggles, yeah. I don't know who actually made this. I stole it off the internet, but I did make this myself, kind of. I ordered it. We'll say that.
All right, there you go. I nobody can see my cool shirt, but I can tilt down for a second. But I do have, this is from Studio House Designs. This is totally not a plug that they asked for, but I've been waiting months for this shirt and I'm so excited. Anybody who's familiar with horror apparel knows that their stuff sells out like almost immediately. So I was really happy. So this Nightmare on Elm Street nerd is very happy. But now you just see like the top of it. Maybe a little new line pops in every once in a while. So, but yeah, it's, we are well into the month of April. That little light is shining at the end of the tunnel, it seems like. It's strange. Like Godzilla versus Kong killed it this weekend. It looks like it's going to continue to kill it, which is pretty interesting. I think.
Can I actually? Well, I am interrupting you, but we had a conversation about this last week.
Yes.
And I mentioned a lot of problems I had, so I went to see it again at the theater.
Okay.
And realized during the first hour, I just
how wrong you were. Did you just? I looked at my friend.
No, not shame, but I said, I didn't see any of this. I must have fallen asleep for longer than I thought. I thought I just drifted in and out. So all of this stuff that I'm like, why are they in Middle Earth? What's that spaceship? It was all explained. So it actually does make more sense than I thought. And it is, it is definitely the most fun of the four of that kind of the thing. So I did enjoy it. Yeah. So I apologize for falling asleep.
I mean, I was going to send them over to your house to kick your ass, but
I would have been so excited about that. Actually.
I know, right? Everybody's talking about Kong's butt these days.
He was a little flat though.
But he was kind of muscular still though. I mean, Godzilla just, has a lot of junk in the trunk and there's really no butt.
Yeah. He's just kind of like,
yeah, he's just got a big old tail.
He waddles.
Yeah.
He waddles. He waddles and smashes things as he does it.
He does. But yeah, I was hoping to get back for, we were supposed to go to the drive-in on Easter and ended up working instead because, my life is super cool. But we're going to try to get back this week and go see it. So, but yeah, I really want to go to a theater.
It's not
you're
bad.
You're at least vaccinated.
I'm half vaxxed.
You're half vaxxed. I'm zero vaxxed.
Friday is my next vax. No, I get it. I mean, it's not bad. I will say that people don't always pay attention where they're supposed to sit and stuff. But what we purposely went to Universal City Walk this time. Oddly, it was a lot less. It was more dead than I thought it was going to be. Just the City Walk itself.
Yeah.
And there was no, you couldn't go to a bar. There was a couple restaurants, but you had to sit down and eat because we kept on just trying to get a drink because we showed up so early. But even inside, we made sure we went to the ones with the recliners because they're more spread apart. So even if somebody's in front of you, they're like 20 feet in front of you. And there's nobody, there's usually about 2 spaces between you and the next person, if there is. I think the theater that we went to said the maximum capacity was supposed to be 13.
Oh, wow.
So there was not a lot of people in there. So I never felt unsafe. I went to the bathroom. There was nobody there.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still kind of, yeah. You know what it is? Because I had to do a interview for a documentary in August. And it was the first time of being outside of the house where I had to take a mask off in public. And I kind of actually had a panic attack.
Did you?
I did. And I wasn't expecting that because it wasn't even really on my mind. And then I got there, put my stuff down and got settled. And I started talking and all of a sudden, I felt like my heart was literally ready to jump out of my chest. And I was like, oh my God, I'm having a panic attack and I'm supposed to be talking and sounding smart right now. And I was like, oh my God. And I kind of my brain stopped for a few minutes and I was like, I'm going to need a second. And I wasn't expecting it because I really didn't have it amped up in my head to begin with, when I left the house.
Right.
but it was that moment of taking off my mask and being in a room, not at home, not inside my car, with other people in it without a mask. And I was like, oh my God, I did better when we did our HCA recordings.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah.
But that was
You seemed
like,
okay then.
yeah, but that was seriously like a minute of having our mask off. And then I went back up and I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm out. I'm done.
See
So
ya.
yeah, so that was a little scary. So I'm kind of nervous about how that's going to go. I mean, I've always been somebody who's like always gone to the drive-in anyway. So
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me, but I'd like to see some of the stuff coming up like in a theater. Like, I don't know how Saw is going to look at a drive-in because it might be kind of dark, but
yeah,
you know, what are you going to do? But yeah, it's still one of those things where I'm like, I'm kind of in my own head on it, but I'm glad you got to see it in a theater. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Oh, good. So you ate a little King Kong pie on that one, huh? Or humble pie?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I don't think I still have issues, but it was definitely like even like I remember thinking like Alexander Skarsgård's hardly in this movie, but then I was like, oh yeah, he's in a lot more than I remember. I mean, just like I did not realize like they explained everything, and I fell asleep for longer than I thought. I was like in and out, so I felt like I was awake, but I really wasn't.
Maybe that's why we got our thumbs down last week. Maybe this is our redemption. Maybe we'll get thumbs up this week on YouTube. We're working for
We should make sure that
folks.
Scott puts Godzilla Redemption in there.
Yes. So before we kind of talk about some of the movies and series that we're going to chat about tonight briefly, I want to talk about this because this is something that's sort of taken over the internet. I love when like these stupid things that people say go viral because it just makes it more enjoyable for me. Most of them I don't even engage with because it's just more fun to watch. I kind of thrive on destruction sometimes and chaos because apparently I'm evil. But I don't often engage in it because I'm just like, whatever, like they're good, who knows? And this is probably just some like, hey, I'm going to say some tweet baits and put it out there and see who catches it. And everybody caught it. But we were having a really interesting discussion about this. The tweet in question was talking about whether or not Alien is considered a horror movie because it takes place in space. And I thought it was interesting because it does seem like that there's a lot of people out there who like to sort of separate sci-fi and horror. Like for me, you can call something like Terminator as much sci-fi as it is horror, even though the science is driving it and you have, time travel and killer robots and things like that. It's still a horror movie. It's basically a slasher movie with a robot. And the big movie in question here was Alien. And for example, like I just recently rewatched Event Horizon because of the Scream Factory Blu-ray. Like you can't tell me Event Horizon's not horror. Like, I mean, that movie is absolutely like peak 90s horror. So it's weird, but I thought it was interesting how you mentioned how in your mind you see sort of the division between sci-fi and horror.
I do and I don't. Like it's funny that you mentioned Event Horizon because I've only seen it once, but I remember distinctly seeing it and thinking I wanted to see a sci-fi movie, and I felt like, oh, this is not what I thought, and I didn't like it at the time. It's on my list to rewatch actually, to kind of revisit and look at it in a different way. But I would consider that horror when I think about it. And I know why people think Alien is horror, and I get it because it's Halloween with an alien. But for some reason, I guess I kind of do a lot of genre mixes. I'll say like it's a sci-fi horror, or like it's even with in fact I think that's a good way to look at it because when people talk about horror movies, I'll say supernatural horror as opposed to slasher horror, because there's different types. Because sometimes people are like, do you like horror movies? I'm like, well, I don't like super gory horror particularly. So I always kind of divide what horror is anyway. So I guess sci-fi horror makes sense. But I'd see Terminator, I wouldn't put in horror. I would say that's more like a sci-fi action in my head.
Yeah.
I mean, people die in like Lethal Weapon and people get punched and killed. Doesn't mean it's horror.
But there's no sense of otherness in it.
True. That's a good point.
So, I mean, I think of something like, him showing up at Sarah Connor's house and other Sarah Connor's houses and like basically like killing random women, which is essentially what slashers do.
True.
So it's interesting. I think there's a really interesting conversation about how, you know, genres are fluid, and I think that there isn't really one box. Like, you know, if somebody said to me like, you know, I don't consider Jason X sci-fi horror. I just consider that maybe they think it's just horror because it's Jason.
Right.
Like, okay, like sure, it's got an android and all kinds of stuff, and it's like 600 years in the future. Okay, you know, I just think it's a really interesting discussion. I think a lot of people sort of taken it too far with
Too
some
seriously?
absolutes on the internet. Can you believe it?
What?
Yeah, but I think also somebody else made this point that, I mean, essentially we're in space. Like, we're just because we're on a planet that we know, we're still in space. Like, technically every horror movie is a sci-fi horror movie if you think about it. And I was like, don't make me think too hard, internet.
Although technically, though, science fiction doesn't need to be in space.
Yes, well, that's true. So technically, like, you know, there's
just
all
don't
sorts of blurring.
Yeah, there is. I mean, yeah. I mean, ultimately, who cares? I mean, you know, I mean, it's an interesting discussion for sure. I'm not diminishing the discussion. But it's like, well, it's still good. I mean, Alien is still great. Whether you think it's horror, sci-fi, love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. It's funny. I have to ask some people. My best friend loves both sci-fi and horror, and I'd have to ask him what he thinks. Curious.
Yeah, and I'm like, do the normies wonder about these things? Like,
No,
you know, I know
don't.
it's something I know we like. I'll obsess over.
We're nerds.
Mostly in my brain, but you
Yeah.
know, I'll still obsess over it. So,
well, I could segue into one of our topics tonight by saying, when you talk about their genres are fluid, which they are. I mean, there's horror comedies, there's comedy dramedies, and so I would say that Bloodthirsty, which we both saw, I felt I mean, it definitely has horrific elements to it, but it felt more like a drama to me with, you know, a supernatural bent. You know,
Yeah.
and that's how I would describe it. Because I wouldn't want people to go in thinking it's going to be like full-on werewolf movie, because it's kind of not. But I liked it. I just knew it's not going to be all about werewolves constantly through the whole thing.
yeah. I think, I mean, it's definitely has more of sort of a dramatic intention to it.
Mhm.
But I actually really like how they deal with the werewolf stuff, because I mean, you know, the bar was set 40 years ago with American Werewolf and the Howling. So every movie, regardless of how they're treating werewolves, they're always going to get compared to those.
Mhm.
So when you're doing these things, I like the fact that, like, more in sort of modern horror, people are sort of venturing out a little bit differently. Werewolves don't have to look a particular way now, you know, because like when you set the stage with the original Wolfman, like every kind of werewolf from there looked like the Wolfman. And then I think in the wake of American Werewolf and the Howling, then you basically had the two subsets of werewolves that we saw. We either saw the running dog like one, or we saw the big oversized howling version.
Yeah.
So like, I like something like Late Phases, which really does it a lot differently than we'd seen it. And I like Bloodthirsty too, because it's interesting because I know I think it's Paul Jones who's the special effects guy in Ginger Snaps.
Oh, I love it.
But he got, you know, he fought with the director so much over the look of their werewolf, because it's was so atypical, because it was blonde, was missing patches of hair. So it's like you can't hide zippers when you don't have hair. Right. And it made it kind of a bitch to shoot. And so, you know, there's a lot of people who really appreciate something like that, and there's a lot of people who push back. Yeah. But I think what Bloodthirsty does, right, because obviously it's you know, it's a micro budget movie, it's not a huge budget. They give us just enough to where, as a werewolf fan, you're happy, but then also I think what I like about it is that it blends in elements of Lauren Beatty. Sorry, I had to I literally just talked to her earlier today too, which is funny. I did, yeah. And
it's funny that her name is Warren Beatty.
Right? I have to emphasize the L on that. Warren Beatty is not in Bloodthirsty, everybody. Contrary to what you've heard. Yes, you never know. But you still kind of get a sense of her in the look of it, which I thought was really great. And like, I saw this last year. I can't remember if it was through Fantastic Fest or Nightstream, the virtual festivals that they had in the fall. And the song in this movie is Bloodthirsty, which was written
So
by
good.
Lowell. I haven't gotten that out of my head since. And that's one of the reasons where I was like, because I wanted to do an interview for the movie to tie in Indie Horror Month, which we're doing over in Daily Dead. And I was like, and they were like, oh, you've seen the movie, right? And I was like, yeah, but I could watch it again because I just want to hear the songs again because they're so good. And I think they do such a fantastic job of really setting the tone for the entire movie and the whole journey that her character, Lauren's character Gray, is on throughout the film. It's a really good movie.
It's really good. Like I really liked her. I'd never heard of her before. She really impressed me. And it's funny because, especially with indie movies, sometimes like the music is like meh, but same thing. Like I was like looking at Lowell on iTunes. I was like, is there a soundtrack yet? Like, where can I find the song? Or there was a couple songs. Like every single song I liked.
Yeah.
I like the arrangements of it. I like the lyrics. So every time, like, I kind of forgot at one point, I'm like, oh, right, this is supposed to be a horror movie. Because I was just kind of into
it was like a concert
journey.
movie almost. Yeah. It's like her Purple Rain or something with werewolves, where you're just so caught up in the music.
Werewolves.
Oh, that's what they should have put on the poster.
Right?
Yeah. It's like Purple Rain.
The Purple Rain of werewolf movies.
I don't know if that's selling it for a lot of people. I love Purple Rain, but I understand its flaws. So, like I love that trashy movie, but it's got some issues, but God bless Morris Day.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. But yeah, that one really surprised me last year, and I'm glad that it's like finally coming out and people are going to get a chance to catch up.
And when does it come out again?
I believe, let me look at my calendar really quick. I am posting that interview on the 20th. So I think it comes out the 23rd.
Okay, that's what I thought. It was later.
So and I'm pretty sure it's going to be, I think it's just a strictly digital release. So you can watch it at home. If you're too chicken like me to go to the theater. Hi, I love horror, but I'm terrified of leaving my house. Welcome to 2021.
That's horror.
Yes, that is my horror. There's no reason, there's a reason I didn't rewatch Contagion when all this started.
I didn't either, actually.
Everybody was doing it, and I was like, I think I'm okay right now,
Although, did you ever see, and it's funny, like the day after lockdown, it was all over Facebook, like they were starting to advertise it. The one with Ewan McGregor and Perfect Sense.
No, I haven't seen that.
With him and Eva Green. It's really good. They start to lose their senses one by one.
Oh my God.
And it's really like, it's upsetting. It's a love story, but it's upsetting because it makes it one by one. Like, think of the senses, and as they go, like, what do you do when they're all gone? Do you exist? It was really good.
Oh God.
The music is really good too.
Now I'm gonna cry because now I feel like I'm not, like, what do I do if I didn't exist? I don't know.
When you watch, you need to watch it. Just, I'm curious what you'll think about the very end. Yeah.
All right. Good. What was it called? Perfect Sense?
Perfect Sense.
Okay. I am writing it on my thingy.
And it's Ewan McGregor and Eva Green. What can go wrong?
Oh yeah. No, that's good. That's good. So, all right. Well, you mentioned Bloodthirsty, and I know we were going to talk about another movie as well, which is Jacob's Wife, which does come out this Friday.
Yep.
I think from RLJE Films. I think they might be doing limited theatrical.
They are.
Yeah.
I noticed that too.
And digital. So I was really excited about this because I don't know about your experience. Did you know much about the movie going into it?
Not really.
Did you know that it was about vampires going into it?
I had a suspicion, yes.
Okay, because I had zero idea because I saw it for South by.
Oh.
And so I knew it was Travis Stevens, who I'm a really big fan of, and he's always been very kind to me over the years. I knew it was Barbara Crampton. I knew it was Larry Fessenden. I was sold. I needed nothing else. And then as I'm watching it, the very first, when you get to the title credits that open the movie, I was like, holy shit, they're doing Salem's Lot. Because the purple font hits, and I was like, oh my God. And I immediately paused it, and I Twitter DM Travis, and I was like, holy shit, are you doing a vampire movie? And I was like freaking out, and he thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I was super, super stoked once I realized that this was basically going to be a riff on sort of, Salem's Lot meets, domestic drama again. That gets funny towards the end.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I was, from the poster, I could tell in the background, it's very faint. You can see the teeth, and I was like, I feel
This
like
was
this is gonna be-
pre-poster too. They didn't even, they
Oh,
only
true.
had the one image of Barbara in a grocery store
Oh,
that was
weird.
out. So at the
Um,
point I saw it.
Yeah, like I had heard somebody on the internet mentioned Barbara Crampton's performance, so I was excited about that. I mean, I again, like, there's older horror movies that I've seen, but I don't really know everybody's, you know, oeuvre. So I know Barbara Crampton from a couple things, like probably 4 or 5 things. But I was, first of all, super impressed with her. Like, I thought it was, you know, I don't know what award she could win, but like, I felt like it was award worthy as far as there was depth to it. She was selling the shit out of it too. Like, some of it's wacky, but she's playing it straight, and she's playing it really, like, empathically. Like, you cared for her, you were interested in her, and you're right. It was more of a domestic drama at a lot of times, because it was really about a relationship with her husband and not wanting to be, the preacher's wife all the time.
Yeah.
And enjoying this newfound freedom of whatever happened to her. And I like that Robert Rustler,
Mm-hmm.
he was in it too. That was nice.
Yeah.
Mr. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
Yes,
Among
he's
other
he's actually a really nice guy. He was years ago, actually, because we talked about Vamp on our first show, but I did a screening of Vamp, and he was nice enough not only to come out and do the Q&A, but he actually rounded up everybody for me.
Oh,
minus Chris Makepeace and Geddy Watanabe, but so he actually brought the director out, and Dee Dee Pfeiffer, and the producer came out and stuff too. The editor too, which I thought was cute, because editors never get to go to anything.
That's true.
But yeah, I was really, as soon as like, oh, Robert's in this too. So still a snack.
Yeah, he was. Oof. Yeah, he was it for me in that.
I doubt he's watching this, so I don't feel that weird. But yeah.
He's probably like, who's this gay guy?
Now it's
he is the snack, and still, like, to this day, and she's beautiful for her age too. Gorgeous.
Barbara, like, I don't know if you follow Barbara on Twitter, but you should, because one, she's like the horror mom of everybody.
Is she? Aww.
She's so pure and so full of like joy. Like, even through everything, like the last year with the pandemic, like just seeing her just interact with everybody and just trying to bring people like some sort of happiness is really, really sweet and inspirational. And we had there was a gentleman who was sort of part of the Twitter horror community, and his name was Brandon Suttles, and he actually passed away a day or two after my birthday. But Barbara, like, every time he would tweet, she was always tweeting back to him. And I know it meant a lot to him, because he and I would chat sometimes in DM, and he was like, oh, Barbara's just the greatest. And it's true, like, she doesn't have to do any of the stuff that she does, but she's so giving with her time and her joy that it's like, how do you just not fall in love with her? And for me, like, I just really loved this role for her because it was so different. And I think a lot of times in horror, like, actors will get sort of pigeonholed into these very sort of typical roles in terms of what you're expecting from them. And once, like, Barbara's like dancing around the house with her little goth shoes on, and she's like moving furniture, like the moving furniture bit to me was amazing.
Yeah.
I laughed like really hard. But there's just such a different energy that comes in her performance, like, and that's like carries the back half of that movie. I loved it. I just thought she was so much fun.
She is fun.
And sure. she's also co-cover girl for Fangoria this month. Right now they have nice. They have the issue that is for subscribers only, which is Godzilla versus Kong. And then the version you can buy on newsstands is actually Barbara on the cover, because this has been a big passion project of hers for years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
I've actually just added her to my Twitter.
Nice. She is a delight.
I've seen more of her stuff than I thought too.
Yeah. It's interesting because, like, right now we're rerunning a bunch of these interviews that we did in 2012 for Indie Horror Month. That just kind of ended up getting sort of evaporated on the internet, if you will. And so what's kind of cool is, like, so we're reposting these interviews, and I guess I didn't realize at the time, but like when I contacted Barbara to be part of that, like, she really hadn't reconnected with like horror yet, because she took time off to raise her kids and stuff. and enjoy her life, which, you know, she owed us fans nothing. And I'm so glad she got to take that time, but getting to have her come back. And this time she's way more in control of her career, which is pretty cool. But like, I just remember like emailing her. She's like, yeah, I'll come out. Cause she lives up like in the San Francisco area.
Oh, wow.
So she came down and like came to our terrible apartment and like, I'm like, we could like be mass murderers for all you know. And you just show up at our crappy apartment to do an interview. I was like, that's really nice.
Yeah.
So, and I remember like when she left and I looked at Brian when we were like, she was leaving, I'm like, we totally could have kidnapped Barbara Crampton right now and nobody would have noticed. So, which we would never do, Barbara. We would never do that. But yeah, just like in her column in Fangoria is fantastic. And just getting to see her sort of show people who she really is in this phase in her career is awesome. Did you ever see Sunchoke?
No.
Okay, that's more drama, but it's psychological. It came out like a few years ago, and she's really good and intense in that.
That sounds very familiar to me. Sunchoke?
Sunchoke, yeah.
One word?
Yes, I think so. Or maybe it's two.
I'm looking it up.
Oh, I guess it is two words. It came out in
Okay.
2015, and it's on Tubi right now.
That's it?
Well, it's free.
Tubi.
What do you want? It's free.
I'll look it up later.
I mean, you can rent it like on Amazon and stuff like that.
But I can't find it on Amazon.
That's weird because it says, yeah, I'm on the little rental thing. That's interesting.
Sunchoke, Barbara. Oh, wait, DVD. Oh, there it is. Got it.
Okay.
Oh, wait, is that Sarah? Oh, I thought it said Sarah Bolger. I like Sarah Bolger.
No, I think her name is Sarah Hagen. Yes.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
Thanks. Yeah. I think you'll dig that.
All right, good to know.
So, yeah.
All right, so Jacob's wife, we're giving a thumbs up.
Yes, we're totally doing. That might be copyright infringement.
Oh, we're giving it a yes. Watch it.
Yes. It's sort of thumbs up, but not really. We don't want any copyright infringement. No.
Well, like jazz hands. Well, jazz hands.
Jazz hands. Double jazz hands for Jacob's wife. Nice. That's going to be our thing now.
We're developing the show as we go, kids.
Yeah, this is magic happening right in front of your eyes. You don't even realize. 10 years from now, we're going to be like, jazz. We're going to show up at some show and they're going to be like, jazz hands, jazz hands. That's going to be our chant.
You're like, hey, everybody.
I swear to God, if we do the HTA Awards in person next year, we both have to present awards and we both have to go up doing jazz hands.
They'll be like, are they doing musicals or horror? We're like, Anna and the Apocalypse. It's a musical horror movie.
Yeah.
We're giving it all the awards
Not
tonight,
set
even
in
though it's
space, so it's okay.
True. Exactly. Exactly.
Well, you mentioned you had just started watching Them, which I know premieres this week on Amazon.
Yes.
Did you want to talk a little about that? I would love to have joined in on this conversation.
I know.
But I'm going to be a little late to this party, but perhaps we could do a follow-up discussion next week.
For sure.
But I was really bummed I missed out seeing it at South by, because that was another one that premiered like the first 2 episodes there. So.
Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot to unpack with it. It's interesting because I read somewhere, like I was just reading comments and people were like, oh my God, they're copying Jordan Peele. This is called Them. His movie is called Us. You know, it's Black focused and there's racism in it. So it's like Get Out. And they're not wrong about all that. But a couple things to point out, and you know, you probably know this, but it is an anthology. So this season is just the story. Next season, Them will be something else. So it's not going to continue. So there must be a reason for the Them part. And it could just be about something that's other, like you had mentioned before.
Aliens. Is it space horror? Like what?
It is not space horror.
Okay.
Here's the thing that I do find, like, it's actually brilliantly made. They actually do reference like 70s horror, especially in the way they do the titles. Because it's like the title card with the little writing on the bottom, like this is a blah, blah, blah production, blah, blah, you know, that type of thing. And sometimes they'll do the split screen like Brian De Palma thing. So that's really interesting. So it's really well made. It's well acted. It's well shot. Like the production is great. And the story is really interesting. The only thing that I'm not struggling with, but I'm like, is that I'm 5 episodes in, there's 10 episodes. And the supernatural is just like tidbits. And I'm like, are you going to amp the supernatural stuff up so I understand why it's even there? Because I feel like it's just a drama about this. So for those uninformed, or not uninformed, but it's about this Black family that moves from the Midwest somewhere to Compton in California, and they move to an all-white neighborhood. And he is working for, I feel like NASA or something like that. Has 2 kids and a wife, but there is some tragedy in their past. And the moment they move in, the neighbors are not having it. Allison Pill plays the woman who lives across the street, and it's also in the 50s, so they're all like buttoned up with their little, their little skirts and their
June Cleaver.
Yes,
attire.
exactly. So they're all bitchy 50s ladies, and they're cruel, and so it's hard to watch sometimes. But there is that weird supernatural element that comes in. There's like this creepy hat person that keeps on showing up, or you're not quite sure what that's about. So it's interesting. It's keeping me invested, but it is. I feel like it's more of a drama than people might not expect. And it's also a little bit traumatic. It's like week after week, you have to go through terrible things that they do to this family. And this last episode was most of them are about an hour, and this last episode was 32 minutes. And it kind of tells you what happened in the past with that family, and it's horrific. So I had to go watch The Nanny afterwards. I was like, can't watch any more of this right now. I need to watch something happy and fun, because it was upsetting. And not in a horror movie way. It was upsetting in what they did to this family, but it's really well done. So like that's a plus. And I'm curious to see not only where this season goes, but what they're going to continue to do with the series. Like what's the next, season story going to be? Is it going to be completely different time period? I don't know. I'm curious. Or are they going to use the same actors? Actors are great though. Really, really good. So
good.
Definitely worth checking out.
Oh, good. So, well, I checked out the first episode of the new season of Creepshow.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't totally in love with the first season of Creepshow, to be honest. It kind of ebbed and flowed for me. Season 2, first episode, fan-frickin-tastic.
Really?
It's so different. It's so good. If you're an Evil Dead fan, it's highly worth watching. I cannot recommend it enough because you get like Ted Raimi in there.
Ooh, nice.
And just the way that they sort of blend the stories this time felt really organic. So if anybody out there who maybe doesn't have Shudder and they're kind of thinking about it and they've heard about the show, definitely watch it. I think Creepshow is also on the AMC Plus app.
Oh yeah.
Eventually,
Shudder comes with it. Yep.
Yeah. So if you've sort of been on the fence about it because you didn't love season 1, just go in, just give it a shot. It's really a lot of fun, and it makes me super excited for the direction of this second season.
Do you need to have seen the first season to?
No, not for this so far.
Okay. So I can just jump into season 2.
Yeah, they're all anthology, so they're all like self-contained within each episode. So
perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So that's my little plug. If you're looking for something fun, Creepshow I think is going to deliver the goods this year. I was really happy with this first episode.
Perfect. All right, I'm excited. Did you see on Shudder, speaking of anthology, but it was the movie, the Mortuary something or other?
Mortuary Collection, yeah, from Ryan. Oh my goodness, and he's going to be so mad at me for not knowing this, only because I actually was involved with it very early on.
Were you?
I was. Ryan Spindell. Yeah, I actually, he had sent in the babysitter script for a contest I was doing at the time, and I loved it. And he was like, I want to turn this into an anthology. And then he was kind of taking a direction like, I didn't know what the frick I was doing. And I'm so glad that he was like, okay, I need to get this made. I'm moving on. It's totally cool. Because that was like almost 10 years ago. So when people like talk about like, oh, my movie took 1 or 2 years to get made. Like sometimes you got to buckle in, baby, because you don't know how long it's going to take. So for me, him getting to finally make that movie, do it the way he wanted to do it, because this is exactly what he talked about like in 2010. The way he wanted it to look, the way he wanted it to feel, and it is spot on. And I know two of the actors he was talking about way back then, one was Tim Curry, one was Clancy Brown. So the fact that he got Clancy is even more amazing.
I will say Clancy Brown impressed the hell out of me. He's really good normally, obviously, but he was hilarious in this movie. He had some great comic timing and very subtle comedy. Loved it. Like it was just one of those random like, all right, let's watch this. It's Halloween. we'll check it out. And I was like, this was one of my favorite movies
Yeah.
of this month because like every little story was clever and interesting and fun and funny, and I just love that movie. I think it's so good. I hope they do another one. Honestly.
Yeah, anthologies can be really hard to pull off, but I think,
Yep.
honestly, I think you're almost sometimes better off with a singular director. But I will say, I am really excited to see what comes of the new VHS movie because they're kind of
doing another one.
They are, and they're kind of retooling things a little bit. So, and they have Tima Jahanto back, who did I'm blanking on the name of the segment from part 2, VHS 2, but the one where they're at the commune. And then the demon baby's born.
Vaguely. I only saw it once.
Yeah. So I love that segment. So.
And I was suddenly just getting it confused with what is the one? I love it. I think it's on Shudder now. Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon's son directed it. And it's like this kid VHS. VHS.
Yes. Yes.
That movie is hilarious. There are some really clever segments, and it's not really horror, but
yeah,
there is some fun. Did you see it?
I did. Honestly, I would have to look at my notebook though, because I think I was watching it for a festival.
Oh.
So once like you're in like your 13th movie,
yeah,
like
that was the one where they did the Real Housewives of like Pasadena or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
And it was where they had the it wasn't Real Housewives of Pasadena, it was sorority girls, where the girl's doing magic and they were suddenly all like freaking out because she was doing a magic trick and they couldn't understand how she did it, so they killed her. But she literally like pulled something out of a hat, like ta-da, and they're like, but it was filmed as a reality show. Oh my god, I showed it to somebody the other night. I was laughing so hard. So good. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, well, no, that's good. I'm a big fan of anthologies. But yeah, I think we've got a lot of really fun things coming up, but I think we've got some really good stuff on the near horizon for people to enjoy. So hopefully they'll take our advice.
I hope so too. What do you watch? What do you have coming up? Anything?
I'm trying to really think. I don't really have a whole lot. So I'm just still kind of...
The Banishing I have to watch.
Okay.
With Jessica Finley Brown from Downton Abbey, Winter's Tale. One of my favorites. Nobody likes it except for me. It's fine.
Love what you love.
I actually, I don't know if you saw or if you're doing it, but that Scott Menzel, our founder of Hollywood Critics Association, does like every day. He does a favorite movie for every day for the whole year.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I've been doing it along with him. It's very difficult because I forget what I choose. And today I was like, you know what? I'm going to put myself out there and just say I liked the Butterfly Effect director's cut. I know. I see the face you just made. You just made a face.
I would look. I have a Howling 2 poster on my wall. I pass zero judgment on anybody. No, actually, I think I remember liking the Butterfly Effect, but I think I only ever saw the director's cut because I was the one that you could rent at like the video store at the time.
I don't know. I bought it and there was 2 and I literally just kind of went, I'll just watch director's cut.
Okay.
And I was literally sobbing for like 30 minutes after. And I don't know why it just impacted me. And like, I'm not going to reveal the ending to anybody. And I can see where people will be like, that's ridiculous. But just this whole self-sacrifice thing. But then I watched the theatrical version and it was just kind of they don't see each other on the street. And I was like, no. Nope.
Yeah, I never saw it theatrically, but I did rent it. I remember.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I was fascinated just kind of by the concept anyway, but
yeah,
just the ending and the music was really good too. And it just made me cry.
It's okay. You love what you love, and there's nothing wrong with that.
You know what? I agree with that. Things hit us different ways with whether it's horror or drama or whatever. And we should because if he watches this, Scott, I've seen some of your choices. They're suspect, but you love what you love, according to. I mean, Problem Child. Okay, Scott.
I remember loving Problem Child in theaters, though, but I was
Did
like
you?
the right age, yeah. So
and that's
like
the
12.
thing too. Yeah,
So,
I mean, I liked a lot of stuff when I was a kid that I'm sure people today would be like, "What?"
Yeah,
but yeah.
So I mean, everybody hates The Goonies now, and that was like one of my favorite movies as a kid. So what do
I
I
actually
know?
didn't like it when I saw it opening day because my Steven Spielberg produced it. I'm going, didn't like it, but then I like it now.
Oh, see,
yeah,
interesting. All right.
And they show it all the time, like Cinespia or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
drive-ins and stuff all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Well,
Interesting.
I think Love What You Love is a good note to end on for the week.
I agree.
Yes. So Kevin, where can people find you online and your work and follow all that stuff?
They can find me on edgemedianetwork.com.
Okay.
And then Twitter's
Writer
Guy
Guy LA.
LA. Thank you. I changed it.
Wonderful. And for those of you who want to find anything that I'm doing, I'm over at dailydead.com. You can find me on Twitter at the Horror Chick. Be sure to head over to dailydead.com actually throughout the month, just because we're doing a bunch of stuff celebrating independent horror throughout the entire month. And we're doing some fun videos and things. So I think it's really fun. So maybe you guys give it a shot and, check out, maybe find some new favorite movies. So
Exactly.
yeah. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in once again to Horrifically Horrifying. And we will see you again next week. Bye.
Bye.